So, good evening, everyone. There's no question that humans, we are all hardwired for music. And as babies, we hear music straight away as soon as we are born, usually as lullabies. And then as we grow, on momentous occasions, we have for weddings, festivals, even sadly, when we say goodbye to our loved ones, when they pass away, at funerals also we play music. So to that extent, music brings us closer. It's a bonding, it helps people bring us together as a community. So music is such an expressive language of culture and a very huge part of our lives. So which means that culture and music are interconnected, they are intertwined. And each culture has created or developed its own type or types of music over the years or over the decades, over the generations. And each community, like ourselves, uses it to define our kind of music. So thus we have music culture has evolved. We talk of pop culture, we talk of rock culture, we talk of jazz culture. So music has been, of course, an integral part of the Indian culture too. So the focus for today is how to make this South Indian classical or Carnatic music a culture, how to make it a culture within our people. I keep talking even to my own students, how they are the future ambassadors of classical music. So as parents, do we think it's important that our children get exposed to this form of art? What are the challenges? What are the benefits? And to join me today in this discussion, I have three parents who share a similar love for our music as I do, and also facing or going through the challenges of raising a family outside of the country. So very warm welcome to you all, Ratna and Dayalan, Bhargava and Subhashini, Gayatri and Uday. I'm really much grateful to you for giving me your time today and to join us in this discussions. So could I start with you, Ratna and Dayalan, as young parents with kids under 12 years of age? Do you agree that culture and music are interconnected, intertwined? What's your understanding or what's your views on staying connected to your roots? And do you also think that kids should have that connection with their roots? Over to you.
Thank you, Akka. That's a great question. I think it's a question that's normally running in all our minds as parents, I guess, from time to time. And I guess from being a sort of migrant family ourselves, we all grew up in Malaysia and third, fourth generation Malaysians, and then now we're in Australia. So we've never actually had, we never grew up in India, really, though we associate ourselves as Indians, right? And so what connected us to India and our culture and our sort of heritage is music, arts, and of course there's the religion part of it as well. So these three elements connect us to our background. Otherwise we'll just be Malaysians. We'll be speaking Malay, all we know will be Malay, right? And if we come to Australia, all we'll know will be the Australian way of life. And to get the diversity in life, as in to be connected to our roots and yet embrace the cultures we sort of assimilate into. Music is really important. Culture is really important, and I think music plays a key part in connecting us to that heritage and culture. And of course, my view is music, dance, and instrumental, and all aspects of music actually is a complementary art form or a complementary study to everything else that we learn academically. And personally speaking, I grew up in an environment of music, arts, culture, and religion. And hence I find myself really connected to the way of life as it was, maybe, or at least some percentage of it as it was intended to be. So, and I found that it's really useful to help us in being connected to that background through the arts. And obviously that, as I said, is a complementary piece. It's not an add-on. It's not any more difficult. It's not any more stressful. Actually, it helps your brain to sort of connect the dots. It actually allows you to have a good channel for what you call extracurricular activities, which is non-biased to some of the more negative aspects of life. So it allows you to utilize your time very efficiently. So that's, I think, some of the benefits of music, arts, and any of the sort of cultural aspect of of our background, our heritage, that allows us to sort of be able to actually tackle all of the challenges of life a lot better. It's a tool as well, I think.
Yeah, just to add on to what Dylan has mentioned, first of all, thank you for being given the opportunity to participate in this discussion. To add on to that, why is it important for us as a family is, we are young parents of 3 children. We've got our daughters age 10, and we've got 2 sons, 7 and 3. And I think as they grow, for us as a family, it is important to give them an avenue and opportunity to understand and stick to the positive sort of outcomes that we believe can be obtained by associating themselves towards our culture and religion, and particularly through activities such as music and dance that fills their time in with valuable and meaningful activities, as opposed to growing up in a Western sort of world. We would like to obviously embrace all cultures and respect all cultures. But growing up sort of in a sort of more broad or Western culture does come with its own challenges in itself, like in every other aspect, I would suppose. So as they grow up, we would like them to engage themselves with activities and keep themselves occupied with meaningful activities such as dance and music. So that's why it is important for us to sort of continue at this age, that budding age, that want to expose them to this, so that when they are teenagers and then they're in their own world, they've got something to fall back into that is positive, as opposed to having a lot of time in hand and not knowing what to do with it, therefore getting involved in activities that is probably not as ideal, I suppose. So yeah, that's why we think as parents it is really important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ratna and Dayalan. I can really see the passion in your voice. That's right. And very well said about it being complementary to our life. And also the way you mentioned about embracing and respecting. You have that respect for all cultures, but at the same time, we want our children to be also connected to where they are from, what their roots are. So it's very well said. And the foundation has to be strong. So which leads us on to our next parents, who we have Bhargav and Subhashini. So Ratna and Dayalan are very clear, Bhargav and Subhashini, that their view is the kids should be closely linked to the roots, right? And your child is a teenager. So I would believe you're constantly facing those challenges. Like, you can't be too strict for fear of being tagged either old-fashioned or, losing the touch. Or you can't be too removed or, make them do what they want and just say, they can be removed from our culture, I don't care. I suppose it's about being balanced. So as a parent of a teenager, how are you coping? And what tips would you give parents with teenager kids, who may be struggling to voice that the Indian identity on their children? Over to you. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Ragini, for inviting us, just to get our thoughts. And I totally agree with what Dayalan and Ratna said. I mean, growing up in this country, which is a Western country, so basically we want to assimilate multiple cultures. At the same time, we want to keep our identity. So that's one of the biggest challenges kids will have when they're growing up here. As you said, my daughter is now in teenage. So while growing up, like when there are small kids, they don't have a lot of identity crisis issues. But when they come to teenage, they have this constant confusion. Okay, there are certain practices followed at home, like they're say Indian or Hindu cultural practices, right? And lots of her parents actually come from all over the world, so the cultural practices are quite different. So the kids will keep getting confused, like what's my identity? Like do I do this? See, she's an Australian technically, right? So So as an Australian, should I actually follow what my friends are following, or should I be following something that my parents are following way back from India, right? So this identity confusion or crisis would come to a lot of kids. And the only way to just mitigate that problem is actually starting early when the kids are young enough to teach them our cultural values, teach them cultural practices. So the best way, easiest way to engage them in cultural practices is celebrating our festivals. So and engaging in music, dance. So one thing I noticed is most of our friends or people around us are first generation migrants. So most of the families are young. So the first generation migrant actually would be focused a lot on job and settling down, and their focus is always on that. They have this beautiful culture they brought from their home country, but at the same time, the one point they might miss is, am I passing on that culture to the kids, or am I focusing too much on my career and job? So this is a thought that we came to our mind a few years ago. That's when we realized, hey, we got to change things. I mean, we want to do our best at work. We want to assimilate with all the cultures, but at the same time, we got to make sure our children are actually constantly learning our cultural practices, and they need to learn how to actually be Indian Australian. So meaning have both cultures in their mind. There should not be conflict. There is no conflict as such. As such, one can actually completely follow cultural practices from India and also enjoy the cultural practices of Australia. Or it's not just India, Australia, in any part of the world, right? So that can be done. So the only way that we thought we could do that is to make sure we impart that knowledge from childhood itself. And in the process, we learned a lot. I mean, this is my suggestion to parents as well. So when I was growing up in India, people didn't have to teach me things. You observe and then learn. There is at least one festival, or sometimes more than one festival each month, if you see Hindu calendar. So when you walk out of home in India, or even probably in Malaysia or Nepal or Sri Lanka, in any country, so a week before your festival, you see the festivities happening. The things that are being sold, the streets being decorated. So you see all of that. So kids growing up there, they get that cultural aspect without somebody explicitly teaching them. But that is what our kids here will be missing. So what we need to give them is make sure, this is a suggestion to all parents around. So make sure we celebrate the festivals on the day of the festival, not in the weekend. And make sure to actually bring some more parents together and then celebrate the festival with them. And if you have relatives, that's great. But even if you don't have relatives in this country, just bring some of your friends, celebrate the festivals together. Let the children keep learning our cultural practices and knowledge, while they're growing up. That's my view, and that's my suggestion too.
Subhashini, would you like to add anything? Any share any experiences in what you've done with Neha?
No, I spoke a lot, I guess.
Okay. No, thank you. So you agree to what Bhargav has just said, and you share the same views. Yeah.
Now, if you still have time, I'll just give you an example quickly. So this is from one of our friends' daughter. When she was actually coming into teenage, she started questioning, hey, is our religion good? I mean, there is another religion around which is superior. It looks like, and she's confused. So the parents had this challenge of telling them, see, all religions are equal. Every religion is teaching you good. There is no one great religion, or any religion is less, for the matter. So, and then the child has got this confusion. Some practices in, say, churches are actually looking better than in temple. So parents had to teach them. So there is nothing better, nothing wrong, nothing right. So all these practices actually have only the same goal. So be a good human. All religions teach the same thing. So this is exactly why our kids have to be taught from childhood that our cultural practices have to be followed, and have to be taught, have to be shared, and every religion is equal as well.
Thank you for that, Bhargav and Subhashini. Yeah, very well said. The only thing I could add is probably, yes, positive reinforcement is very important. Celebrating our festivals, equally important. Also, when we say that, yes, we have to respect all cultures, we have to respect all religion, And so if they have to also respect, in other words, our religion and our culture. That's what it boils down to. And what it means is we may have, say, I may be one person, but I'm the mother to someone, I'm a sister to someone, I'm the wife of someone, I'm the grandparent for someone, grandmother to someone else. It's the same person, right? But my identity therefore changes depending on who is talking to me. And that is the reason why all rivers may join the sea, all seas may join the ocean. Why do we have different names? And that is what is the culture. And that's what adds, that variety is what adds the spice to life. For whatever reason, we are in that culture, and it's good for us to know which bubble we are in. Right. So very well said.
Totally agree, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'm also very, very happy that Gayatri and Uday have been able to join us. They've just come back from their long holiday. I hope you had a fabulous time. I could see some of the photos, Gayatri. So very well done. Your children are slightly older, and they have been associated with our Indian music for almost a decade, I would say. So I thought we would be best placed if you could share the benefits, the values of what you have seen, how they've evolved. What is the benefit of having had such an exposure, such an experience? And what advice would you give parents in this space? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for having us in this very interesting and useful discussion, Ragini. And it's a very great thought. And also you always surprise us with all these new ideas and awesome creativity. Thank you so much. Before we share our thought, I would like to share some of the views of the Carnatic music, and more than we both would share.
Yeah. So what we feel about is, yes, we've been, as you mentioned, that we have 18-year-old daughter, and then that make us feel very old in this group, but that's fine. Let's not go there. Let's talk about this Carnatic music, right? So, so whenever we talk about Carnatic music, I always think about the time as frozen in moment, right? So that is what really taking us back in the time, and no matter what, right? So it's been there for many, many decades, many years. Whenever you hear that particular song or that particular ragam or whatever it is, we're not changing it. The method of teaching might have changed, the method of learning might have changed, method of presenting might have changed, but the song and then everything remains the same, and that really takes us back into the time. That's what I feel about the whole Carnatic music.
It's Carnatic music is more than ragam, talam, and pallavi, as you know, the grammar and the literature of it. It's more than a medium to pass on the culture, the literature, and the language. So many gurus and so many saints have sung those songs, and it has given us so much information about the background they have lived in, and the literature they have formed, and the culture, the language, the strength of divinity, and how much they have dedicated themselves and lived for just praising about the Lord, and working or doing their day-to-day duty just for the purpose of prayers and doing divine stuff. So it always gives us a goosebump whenever we think of or realize how much they have dedicated their whole life. All those saints like Purandaradasa, Tyagaraja, everyone for that matter. So this is what we give for the kids, or we teach the kids from whatever songs they learn out of Carnatic music.
And to resonate what Dayalan and Bhaga was saying that, right? So even Dayal mentioned that they were coming from Malaysia and they never lived in India, but this is what the music does to them. The Carnatic music is really taking them, and they believe that just by making the children learn about this Carnatic music, obviously it'll connect them with the culture that India has grown, or whatever it is. That's what the time capsule for me, right? So the whole music is in a time capsule and then passing on to the generations. And as Bhaga pointed out, the religion and all the songs, it talks about the religion, and it is really what the culture and how it really, and as Bhaga pointed out, it is not just the functions and the music, right? So I just want to really mention, we've been here for more than 20 years or whatever, the children grown up, the opportunities that we get our children to, the participate or practice or the showcase their learnings is purely through these festivals, let that be the Navaratri or to the temples, or when the friends are visiting for the festivals or whatever it is, this is an opportunity for them. Or that's why celebrating with friends, we don't have families here. If we have the families, that's a different story, but celebrating with the friends is really, really important, just to make sure we can really take this culture and purely just putting them into this particular journey of the Carnatic music, and with the great gurus like Ragini, and well, obviously she's the only guru that we know here in Canberra, but it definitely really gives them an opportunity to understand that culture, to understand the divinity, to really, and take that, we hope that they'll take it on to the next generations. And yeah, and so from an advice to the parents' point of view, that making a decision on putting them into this journey of learning Carnatic music or introducing them to the music and itself is a really great. And then that's enough. That will take care of teaching the culture, that will take care of teaching them the religion, that take, yeah.
When I speak to my parents and during the festival of or any function day, like a wedding or something, oh, this song, we call my daughter as Papu. This song, Papu sings this song. She's learning. They were very proud that even having lived in Australia, though we are all here, the parents are back in India, they are very proud to learn that our children are still learning and respecting our culture. And our kids, when they wear the Indian costume, they feel so happy to see, oh, see, look at her, she's wearing the half sari, where even in India, none of the kids wear at this, time, I would say. It might be an exaggeration, but that is what we are seeing in most of the places. But we are so proud having lived in a country which is outside of India, and we are able to expand and teach our kids our culture and our background, and help them to learn our culture, more than learning, to protect it, and also to give respect to what our elders have found out and have passed on to us. So it's a great thing, and I feel very proud to have done that, and also I'm sure my kids will pass on to their kids as well.
And the one thing that I would like to add on to, I mean, she just mentioned about the dress. You can clearly distinguish from the people who is in with the journey of, let that be the Carnatic music or classical dance or whatever it is. You can really see them, they are comfortable wearing the traditional dresses, and the people who are not in these kind of, I mean, if they don't know about the music or the dance or any arts, they're not comfortable wearing the traditional dresses. So it's clearly showcases that this journey is definitely making them comfortable with the culture and then adapting to that culture.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, so I can just sense that passion, in each of you when we talk of Carnatic music, and for the art, for that matter, So we are talking about how there is a strong focus on the all-round personality development of a child, and Carnatic music just it's a positive energy. It influences a lot of positive energy, spiritual energy, therapeutic. It's a stress buster. It relieves a lot of stress, as we know. And so along with the academics, I can see that given the strong structure and the pedagogy of Carnatic music, as you said, how it's evolved over the years, I think it's a popular choice, and it will continue to be a popular choice, I hope, with the blessings of young parents, who will continue with this tradition in the years to come among parents and kids. So I would just like to ask one question of each of y'all. Maybe we'll go back, we'll go in the reverse order this time, since Uday and Gayatri are already there. Just strictly one sentence, please. If there was something, what is, if there was one thing, if say we were able to unfold or go back in time, what is that one message or advice you would give the new migrants or parent or newlyweds who are just planning a family outside of India or outside of our country?
It's very hard to put it in one sentence, but I'll try to keep it the minimum sentence as possible. Opportunities when we were here were very less. The social media or the opportunities to really kids to know about how an artist can perform a particular song. I mean, they don't have any videos to watch or anything like that. They just learn from a class and come home and they practice on their own. But the opportunities right now is really awesome there. And then people really can see how an artist is really performing and then they can learn from it. If I really go back in time and then change something that we really want to do is, I mean, Ragini always says this, but nobody, many of us not really take it serious. Practice, practice, and practice, but various things. But I would definitely try to encourage the new migrants or the new parents, whoever it is, try to start something like a communal practices. Let that be the weekly or monthly, apart from the class. Let bring the kids together to the temple hall or some general place where they can rehearse the songs that they learned a month ago or 6 months ago, 3 months ago, years ago. We're not really keeping track of those songs at all. Yes, as from the class point of view, the music class has to move on and they have to learn the new songs, but we are not giving them an opportunity to practice or the old songs that they learned a year ago or 6 months ago.
Thank you.
So we need to have some kind of a structure to practice those things. That's what.
Yeah. I suppose there is, if parents can bring them 7 days a week, I'm here. The question is also getting them to bring. You wouldn't believe last week how I had organized a class and how I had to cancel it. Like I organized it about 10 times in 10 different timings. But but having said that, it's a juggle, between time, and the time is a bit constrained, I suppose. But that's very good advice for someone who's already into it. So over to you, Bhargav and Subhashini. What's your view? Like if they are starting a family outside, so what would be your advice? What would you tell them in one sentence about bringing up their kids to stay rooted to our culture?
Again, I can't answer this in one sentence. So let me just use a few words and few sentences. As most of you know, basically I started learning Carnatic music as an adult. So I never had that background in my family or anybody around me. But once I started learning, I felt so nice that I've been questioning myself, why didn't I do this many years ago? So that would be my advice to parents. So if somebody either if they don't even have the Carnatic music background, or even it doesn't have to be Carnatic music, but at the same time, just saying it could be our cultural dances as well, right? So any of that, even if the parents don't have that background, so I would advise parents to start learning that first. So once parents start learning that, kids will just watch them and do it. So if you don't do it as a parent, and if you keep telling them, hey, you got to learn this, it's not going to happen. It's not easy. I mean, because they're kids, they might just listen to you because they have no choice. But if parents practice it, there is no way kids will miss it. They would always learn it. So I would really, really advise any parent that is starting out family, whether they have the background in cultural dance or cultural music. So I would ask them to start doing it now, no matter how busy they are. That's my advice.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would also like to add.
Sure.
Actually, coming to me, I love dancing and also singing. But when I was a child, I never learned it, both like singing and dancing. So for my daughter, I encourage her, to start with, I encourage her to do both dancing and singing, but she started slowly, going to the classes, to the classical. So I think now she's your student and how far she has come. So we are happy about that. And she's singing, when we go to the functions or in any of the programs like Navaratri or etc. And so even my relatives back in India, they hear the singing that she sings and they're very happy about that. And also I'm encouraging her to learn the classical dancing as well. So maybe soon she will start that as well. But even I get a chance also to do that. Maybe I also will start singing and dancing. So mostly my husband and my daughter are giving me a passion about singing. They both are your students. So that gives me a encouragement as well, so that I also can start. It's not only when you are a child that you can start it, but even you are at the adult age also, you can start singing or dancing, and it's like a passion, and which gives a relaxation to you as well. So soon I also might start that, and I'll encourage my daughter to learn dancing as well, like especially Kuchipudi or like Bharatanatyam dancing.
Welcome. I'll welcome you with open arms when you want to do. If you want to do music, you ask Bhargav. I would just love everyone, every single soul in this world to learn Carnatic music. I don't care
We're
if you
encouraging another 5 people, so you might
Yes.
have to create another batch.
So it's an absolute thing. You've just I've got about 1,000 bulbs illuminated in myself, you know. So thank you so much for that inspirational thought. So which is really good. Thank you. And again, I know I'm very conscious of time. I can only give you 1 minute, Dayalan and Ratna. I know I'm a bit sort of sounding a bit rude, sorry, but what advice would you give? Just
Really,
really wind up. That's all.
Sure. You know, I resonate with what everyone has said, and I think the struggle is real. I think the juggling is real, but regardless, if there's one advice I can give everybody is persevere through it. The benefits that we reap at the end of it, trust me, it is definitely going to be huge. And have the discipline to see through it in all the activities that you do, and don't start and stop. You know, start something and have the discipline to persevere through till you get the results. That's probably the only advice I have for young parents, and of course parents lead by examples. Lead by example really to your kids. Diala, do you want to add anything very quickly? 30 seconds.
I think I'll just try to put some data to this. What I wanted to add was, if you look at Singapore, who is which is a multi-racial, multicultural country, they have taken culture as a serious component of life. They introduce it systematically through the education system and by supporting all of the foundations for arts. They find that without that component, a human being, I mean, this is academically speaking, I guess, a human being is incomplete. So though we know that, it is probably reinforcing to understand that a country which runs everything by a curriculum has understood that language, which is even their own Mandarin, has been forgotten. They had to have a campaign to bring it back up again. And culture and arts is extremely important. They support it. They act through the different what you call arts foundations within Singapore, and they actually sponsor those programs so that they weave that into the culture. And that means Indian arts, Chinese, every culture is supported. And so that just tells you that from a data perspective, obviously there is a real benefit that we probably won't see organically talking about it. So I thought I'd just add that component to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dayalan. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. I think it's fitting to just summarize our sentiments in one sentence, if I might. You can take the Indian out of India, but not the India out of the Indian, as this is one of my very favorite quotes. So let's keep the Carnatic music light burning to lead the generations to come. Jai Hind.
Thank you.